I would like to bring to order the regular council meeting for Monday, August the 27th, 2018. Roll call, please. Mr. Lauer.
Mrs. Merrill.
Present.
Mr. Steigel. Present. Mr. Curry. Here. Mr. Berquist.
Here.
Mr. Lewis. Here. Mr. Ball.
Present.
Mr. Kozer.
Here.
Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, first item on the agenda is approval of the minutes of the regular council meeting held August 13th, 2018.
Motion. Second.
Any updates, deletions, changes?
Mr. Chairman, I have two things I'd like to make a comment about.
All right.
I asked Mr. Lauer if he would add a sentence under the Section 2B for solid waste collection, just to clarify that the new proposal included automated garbage collection as well as the option to continue current manual garbage and automated recycling. That wasn't in the body of that, and I think that's an important point so people know that that's out there. Then the second thing, just to, under miscellaneous for the fire department staffing, to identify that council concurred with his recommendation to go back to the full-time staffing.
All right. Mr. Curie, modified as...
I'll amend my motion to reflect those two corrections or clarifications.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. 7-0. Next item is special reports, and there are not any this evening, so we'll move right to audience comments. This is a period of time in the agenda where someone in the audience can come up, have their 5 minutes. Anyone in the, that's on a non-agenda item. Being no one's coming forth, we'll move to the next item, which is unfinished business, and there is none under that as well. So, to new business. First item is bids for the playground and shelter project. I believe at Peterswood Park.
Yes. As council's aware, the township is in receipt of a grant from the state of Pennsylvania for 50% of the cost of a playground and shelter. Within the budget is an appropriation of $480,150. And as you can see, the bids came in substantially above that amount. I do believe that part of that is a function of how the bid document was structured, and it's my recommendation that council reject these bids and direct us to go back out and solicit new proposals.
So moved.
Second.
Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. 7-0. Next, authorization for the appropriate township officials to enter into a gas lease for township-owned properties.
As council will recall, we had asked for authorization to go out and seek bids to lease a portion of land that is in part a section of Peters Lake Park, as well as any other additional lands that we own in that area. Range Resources has the intention of drilling a gas well, which will reach into that area. We did go out and solicit those proposals, and Range has indicated that they have an interest in actually three parcels that the township owns. This, what you see here, is one parcel. If you were coming down the hill on Center Church Road into the park, it would be the area to the left of the road. The other parcel is this small parcel up above, which is open space. When we solicited bids, we did so on the basis that we were looking for terms that were in line with that which the township received when it leased property to EQT. Mr. Smith has handled the negotiations with Range, and he might be in a better position to let you know exactly where we stand with that.
Yeah, the EQT lease, I believe, at the time was around, what, 4,500 an acre for 4,750 bonus, and with the royalty structure, they met that. They also, when we met with Range, we sat down, they looked at the existing EQT lease. We were able to get Range to modify that even further. There's an all-in provision. There's a couple of, part of the concern we always have with the township is we're not going to go out and do our title search on whether we own the gas or not. That expense, is going to be borne by the industry. And we put in a clause that if they did pay us mistakenly, that the township doesn't have to pay that back. Because we have seen that as of late, a lot of litigation on mispayments to a number of, not necessarily municipalities, but leaseholders. So they added that, they struck some of the other provisions. We have they're going to drill this out and permit this very soon. That's why they were amenable, obviously, to reaching out to us to begin with, and amenable to doing the all-in provision in the unit. I believe that, again, this is a non-surface lease. They can't come into Peters Township in any way other than under the township. The only issue that I asked them to address that they did not, and it was basically from a proximity standpoint, was would they test the lake for us, to do a baseline test of the lake. My concern wasn't necessarily any upward migration based on the laterals, and there wasn't much of a concern because the distance was, I think, in excess of 10,000 feet from the lake. When the manager and I spoke, one of the concerns I had, and we perhaps have, is there's a lot of activity of just even truck traffic hauling around that lake. If there would be a spill or a tanker or something, do we want to have some sort of baseline? That's not necessarily tied to this lease, but big picture, because of all the activity around us, should there be a problem? Of course, like Cross Creek, they had a problem in their lake in the past, and I don't believe they might have had some pre-drill. But one of the biggest problems with water issues is the lack of a pre-drill testing. I'm not saying that this Mizia pad would have any problem, but just even I'm not sure how they're hauling water. I represent East Findlay Township, and we're dealing now with a bunch of leaks and spills out there not from Range, from another operator, from just the water lines, nowhere near the well sites. So, Range said they would not do it, and they typically only test water up to 3,000 feet from their site, so that's nothing personal, it's standard that they wouldn't do it. This is a separate issue. The lease itself, I believe, is ready for the board to vote. If you want to do it, it's in good shape. It's a favorable lease to the township. But long term, if you want to have some baseline testing of the lake water, might be something to have.
And again, Mr. Smith and I had talked about this, and regardless of what we do, it's not an expensive process to go take samples from the lake and have that water tested so that we know what's there. And even if the lease was not to be entered into, I would suggest that it would be prudent for the township to be doing that, given the truck traffic we see on Venetia Road. The other question that came up briefly was, how does this affect the remainder of the lake? The red lines you see are wells that have already been drilled, and as you can see, those reach up to the edge of the lake and never came onto our property. The one that is in question now is that one that's outlined in blue, and what they're talking about is extending this proposed well up through here. So.
These graphics are not part of our docket.
What's that?
I say these graphics we've seen were not part of the docket.
They were not. In fact, I'll apologize for that, because what's in the docket is, if you look at the lease, it references a portion of the property identified by that tax ID number. That parcel actually is bisected by this road, and the part that they're interested in is only this part.
And that's the way the lease is written, but this exhibit in our docket is not part of the lease document.
No.
Upon your request, Mr. Lewis, the manager reached out to Mr. Kramer. I think they went and created that document, this one today. I think they just outlined exactly on a map where the lease land would be.
Yes.
That's the first time we've seen it as well, and they generated this afternoon.
I did have a question. In addition to the concern for the water, which I agree we should probably test before drilling, Mr. Zaminis, do you anticipate any issues with the dam or any problems that might occur? Because we've had some concerns about that.
I don't have any issues now.
Well, from what I understand, there are already laterals that come from North Strabane on a different well. And I think if you go back to Paul's previous one, there's already 4 or 5 laterals on an existing well that come to the edge of the lake anyway. And those would be closer to the dam than where these laterals that they're proposing would go. So I would, not being an expert in engineering by any standard, I would think that if there was going to be any issue and effect on the dam, it would have occurred when those laterals were installed.
Potentially, but cumulatively adding more might be an issue, which is why I raised the question.
The other thing that,
Engineering either.
it's speaking to range, I think there's a very good chance that the gas that's under this portion of our property will never be reached.
Are those red lines, are those EQT lines?
Those are ranges.
There's a range from that
Ranges.
existing well pad. They're just getting to permit additional legs off that pad.
So we're looking at approximately $285,000, and they are planning on drilling soon.
We're going to get the permits, I believe, this fall.
Yeah, when we had spoke to them, their intention was that this well be drilled in January.
So what are they estimating, or what would we estimate the additional cash flow?
We don't know that. We won't know until,
You know, they have 5 years. Do we have an all-in provision, so they have to drill it out all in 5 years? I suspect they drill it out all in January. And then if they all come online, there's obviously a pipeline there. I think this is all dry gas. I don't think they have any wet gas coming off those other legs.
but we don't have an estimate of what the royalty.
Yeah, and I haven't looked at any.
How many acres is our area?
60.
How many?
60.
Well, at that amount, I would guess, based on the numbers I've seen, you could probably figure about $300,000 to $400,000 in the first year in royalties.
That's what I would guesstimate as well. Okay?
One more question, because I don't know what the purple or blue segmented line is. What are those, or do we know?
I'll be honest with you, I don't know what those are myself.
I don't know if they're township boundaries, maybe?
No, this is the
No,
township.
no, I have
I have no
another
idea what this is.
Sort of presuming that
I don't think so, because
can you scale down to the bottom of it? It might be a key.
Yeah, it probably is pipe.
I don't know.
Off to the right or not?
There's also light blue ones too, see that?
There's some sort of utility.
Those are the proposed laterals.
No legend.
Must be close.
All right. Any further discussion?
Well, just like when we executed and agreed to enter the lease with EQT, I'll make the same comment I made then. This is going to happen regardless of whether or not we take advantage of this opportunity. I mean, I think we would be bad stewards of township resources if we don't take this money, because let's be honest, the budget's going to get tighter every year, and we're going to get all the negative fallout that's going to occur as a result of this well, regardless of whether or not we take the money. So, from my position, I don't think we have a choice but to, and I'll make a motion that we authorize the appropriate township officials to enter into a gas lease for the township-owned properties.
I'll second. Any further discussion? Anyone from the audience? All right, seeing that there's none, time to vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, nay?
Nay.
I need to abstain. One abstention, one nay? So that would be
So 5-1-1.
5-1-1.
I'm going to make a motion that we have the water tested. I mean, I think you're going to have to bid that.
No, that will not be an expensive process.
Okay. Well, I'm going to make a motion that we do that so that we have a baseline.
I'll second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay? That one is...
I'll go for that one.
Just checking, Gary. All right, next is, the item on the agenda is request to vacate a 20-foot easement on lot 1244 in the Old Trail 12 plan of lots.
This is a request from Scott and Michelle Bacco to have a easement that's on the back of their property vacated. this easement that you see here runs throughout this plan, and it's never been used. In fact, one of the things that I was suggesting to Mr. Zemaitis is that where we need to take action on this tonight, I think in fairness to the property owners in the plan, we should vacate that entire easement in the future because it is of no value to us. But I think other people in the plan, like the homeowners here, would like to be able to use that property for other things, and I think in their case they're talking about putting a pool there. So, you know, it's my recommendation, since it has no value to the township, that council take action to vacate it.
I'll make a motion that we vacate the 20-foot easement on lot 1244 in the old trail plan, phase 12.
I think Gary got there first, yeah. All right, any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed, nay?
Nay.
Okay, it's 6-1.
I just don't think it's a good idea that we entertain these types of matters. Because then you're going to, we can get a stone wall back.
Oh, for a second there, Frank, I thought you were worried about maybe renting it out in the future.
No, it's not that. I mean, I don't care if they want to do that. I understand why, but I just don't think it's a good, from a practical standpoint, I don't think it's a good policy.
Thank you for explaining for your vote. All right, next item is removal from office of Youth Commission member.
Mrs. Conrad has not been able to attend the Youth Commission meetings as a result of dealing with some issues inside of her family. We've attempted to reach out to her and have not had any luck in being able to do that. Chief Grimes' recommendation is that we remove her from this position so that in fact we can fill it with someone whose schedule allows them to participate.
I'll make a motion that we remove Ms. Conrad from the board and that we initiate a search to find a suitable replacement for the youth commission.
I think Mrs. Merrill was first with that second.
And let's also thank Ms. Conrad for her service since she was there for 11 years.
And Chief Grimes did note that, you know, when she was available, she was a very productive member of the committee and had a lot of insight into dealing with issues with children.
We'll say with regrets. So all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. 7-0. Next item, amending Peters Township Code of Ordinances, Section 410-9 of Chapter 410. Stop intersections establishing a four-way stop at the intersection of Springdale and Sienna Trail.
So as of right now, there are 3 stop signs on this intersection. What we're proposing is that a 4th stop sign be installed at this location. You know, one of the things that's happened out there is we've paved Sienna Trail down to just about, I think it makes traveling on that road a bit easier and perhaps faster. And I think the stop sign probably is warranted at this point. I know I've gotten a complaint from someone who uses this intersection all the time about the fact that this is blind to anybody who's traveling on this road. So.
That would be me, so I'll make a motion to approve the ordinance amending Peters Township Code of Ordinances, Section 410-9 of Chapter 410, establishing a 4-way stop at the intersection of Springdale and Sienna Trail.
Second.
All right, I'm assuming it currently has this little signs that say 3-way stop.
And now it'll say 4-way stop, and in the transition period, we'll make sure that there's something that indicates that there's a stop ahead.
Can we usually put lights up or something?
I'm going to look to see whether we can put a flasher on this stop sign too.
And we don't think this will be an issue in the wintertime with cars sliding back down?
I personally don't believe that, but I can tell you this, you know, the thing, and I know we have a bunch of these in town, but when you look at this, I think this is a dangerous situation 360 days out of the year. The 6 days where you might have a problem getting up this, I think you do better to deal with that then.
Yeah, okay. All right, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. 720.
But before we leave this location, I just want to refresh council's memory. One of the things that we have on Sienna Trail are these trees that are tight up against the cartway, and even more so after it's been paved. It's our intention to go out and clear the right-of-way so that, in fact, the trees are removed from anything that's within 16 and a half feet of the center line. We have sent notices to all the property owners on that street. I'll be honest with you, I haven't gotten a call from anybody, particularly the trees that are in the vicinity of people's homes. We've actually tied ribbons around those so that they would be aware that something's happening out there, and we haven't received anything. So my intention is to go ahead with that project and address the trees on that
We
street.
talked about this last meeting.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay.
All right, yeah, they definitely need,
That's going to be contracted out.
Yes.
Do you have a schedule for that?
I think we actually have a bid price on it already, so it could be within the next couple of weeks. We're going to have to close the road down to be able to do it, though.
Are they going to take the stumps out too?
I do not believe they're going to take the stumps out. I think they're going to cut them down, cut them as close to the ground as they can.
all right.
What is that, well, wait a second, though. If we're going to leave stumps along the road, is that creating even a more dangerous condition?
Well,
At
that's
least
what I'm saying.
when you see the tree there, you know not to hit it. No, when you see the stump
Right.
from the ground, I mean, that,
I don't think you could grind out all these stumps. I think, like on this area here, up above, there's actually going to be guardrail put in because
Okay.
it drops off steeply. But I don't know that you could go in there and afford to grind all the stumps.
oh, I'm not saying all of them. I'm just saying
They're
there's
off
ones
the
that
road
are,
in some of those areas, you're going to.
I mean, 'cause there's a few of-
in the stumps.
because there's a few of them that are right along the road, and that's only, because right now when the tree's there, if you drive down the road, you can see the tree. You're not necessarily going to see the stump.
Especially at night.
Exactly.
Let me talk to Mr. Herson and explain what the concern is, and let's see what we can come up with a way to
Some
deal with
reflectors
it.
or anything.
Maybe we can put.
Yeah, or do what they do in Europe, how they paint the stumps white and put the little reflectors on the sides.
All right.
Right.
Final item under new business is award of a bid for acquisition of police vehicles for delivery in 2019.
Yeah, there's
And the police cruiser is pretty much going by the wayside.
Bayside. So one of the things that we've been told is that if we do not place orders for vehicles now, there will be no vehicle available for purchase anytime in the beginning of next year. So that they're retooling the SUV, and it won't be available to sometime towards the fall of next year. So we would like to be able to place those orders now so that, in fact, we would have vehicles. Although that money won't be expended to next year, it's probably going to require a budget amendment this year since we would be awarding the bid. I do have one error. I have written here that the contract is to date Ford. It's really Wilson Wind Ford, but the amount is correct, so.
Do you need a motion?
I need a motion.
What did we
awarding the
budget for
contract.
this? Would this be under budget?
It will not be able.
Not this year's budget, but next year.
It will require a budget amendment. We have a couple items that we're going to be coming to you with a budget amendment in September that we'd add this to it. I mean, as a practical matter, the money isn't going to be spent till next year, but it's going to be encumbered this year.
Why did we decide not to replace these with SUVs?
Oh, we are replacing these with SUVs. That's what this is.
Yeah, they're SUVs.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Right, I'm just reading, I'm sorry.
They're not making this again.
I'll make a motion that we purchase, that we place the order for the two Ford SUV Interceptors through Wilson Wind at a per unit price of $28,680.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. 720. Next item is payroll and bills.
Mr. Chairman, I have reviewed the payroll and bills. I find them to be in order. I make a motion that we approve the same.
Second.
Any questions, comments? All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed, nay. 720. Anything under correspondence that you would like to talk about?
No.
Okay. Anything under reports?
Nope.
Anybody?
I think my only comment would be if we reflect on how these reports have improved over the last few years. It's really something I think is worthy of recognition. Quality of the information.
We have challenged people to do better.
I have to agree with Mr. Lewis. Next, we have a miscellaneous 2019 tentative budget calendar.
Yeah, actually, we have a couple miscellaneous things. This is the tentative budget calendar. As you can see, we haven't been meeting every Monday recently, but we're soon going to be meeting every Monday until the end of the year. The one that I would like to point out to you that I think is really key to this year's budget is the one on September 17th that deals with the Rolling Hills Park project. We're going to have HRG come down. They're the people working on the roadway and the intersection to update council on where that project is with updated estimates on its cost. We also want to have a discussion with council about what it is we want to do inside the park and when we want to do that. And finally, we might have some additional direction on the cost of the actual cost of the property. So that's going to be, I think, a very important discussion.
That hearing wasn't until October.
It isn't, but there are discussions going on right now, so.
I would just like to ask to be excused. I will not be available for that meeting, but I would like the literature so I can read it in advance and maybe send some comments.
I will not be available as well on the 17th.
Well, you're in there anyway, so.
Well, it depends on how much money there is.
That was good. Anything else? You said other items under
Well, there's two things I do want to point out that are coming up. And normally, if I'm telling you about a library program, I'm telling you about something that's joyful. But this is a program coming up on Tuesday, September 4th. It's actually a series that the state is going to begin to offer. The initial presentation actually is going to be occurring in Peters Township. And, you know, if you've ever dealt with this issue of suicide, you understand not only the impact on the victim, but the people who care about them as well. And I think this is an important presentation. The other thing that's coming up, and I will remind council of this again, is Rachel's Challenge. This is an effort that is being largely driven on the school district side, but it's really a community effort, and it's to talk about ways to prevent violence in schools. And there's been a lot of effort in terms of putting this program together, and I think it's going to be a valuable presentation for the community as a whole. So.
Anything else?
Nope.
Is it possible that we could videotape that and put it on the public television station?
You know what? Let me find out whether that's going to be permitted, but that's a great idea. That's a great idea.
Agreed.
Actually, both those programs.
Yeah, I mean, both of them might be a good idea.
Let me see whether
That might be
possible.
copyrighted or something.
That's what I have to check. I don't know that.
I would like to say that I, for the first time, went to Peterswood Park for the movie night. Took my granddaughters to see the movie Coco. You haven't seen it yet. It's really good.
Yeah.
But did we buy that screen?
Yes.
Yes.
It's the picture and the sound was awesome. And I forget the girl who was there from Park and Recs. They did a little a thing with masks you could make. The kids were having a great day. The only thing that scared me is that wall. You know, with that many kids running around, you know, the wall down by or normally the stage, no one's down there with the movie there. It seemed to be, I don't know what you're going to do about that. But how about a popcorn machine?
I'll talk to Michelle.
My wife had to run home and make popcorn. She thought that'd be
That's a good idea.
No, really nice. Very, very nice.
Mr. Chairman, I just have something to report to council. You all had agreed that Mr. Snyder and I would meet with Peters Creek Sanitary Authority reps. I did send Mr. I'm sorry, did I interrupt Mr. Lewis? I didn't realize.
I'm sorry, yes. I was rude. Please, go ahead.
The meeting happened on August 16th. Mr. Gary and I were there, and the three reps from Peters Creek Sanitary. I provided a summary to Mr. Lauer to share with the rest of council.
I forgot to print it out, but I can get that before the next time.
Basically, it was just an informal meeting to talk to them about how things were going with the Peters Creek Sanitary and CMA. Some positive things. They did appreciate the interest. They asked if we could potentially meet with them again on a more regular basis, just so they could keep us up to date, similar to what the Park and Rec comes and reports, or we could do that offline. They did have very positive comments. Thanked Mr. Zokin Planning. Apparently, Peters is one of the only townships who actually sends advance information about development, so they can anticipate things. So they were very appreciative of that information. I did ask a favor about some additional, I think Gary asked you about that. In general, they think they're getting information more than they did, but they still have some that they need. So once you get the report, and if you have questions, you can probably ask Gary or I.
All right.
Thank you.
Anything else? I would like to note in the correspondence that the note from the resident about the planning department. That was very, very nice to see someone took the time, because I think our planning department does go above and beyond the call of duty most of the time. So
I didn't know Mr. Zook had relatives in the township.
But, and again, the staff there is relatively new, but they come with an enthusiasm for their job, and I think they really, I think we've done a good job in terms of the hiring process, because I think we have a bunch of people who are interested in serving the community. So.
that was a nice note to read.
Yes.
Yeah, it really was.
All right. Anything else? Anything for next agenda?
No, but we have an executive session on the first.
I'd like to have an update on we were supposed to get, I thought, some sort of audited financials from the ambulance.
We have requested that. I have not received it. I will follow up on that, because I know we'll need that for part of our budget discussion, so.
Sure.
Yeah.
Thank you.
All right. Nothing else. This meeting is adjourned, and we do have executive session.